The last days of the Zorak invasion were full of fire and death. Buildings burned. Smoke filled the air. People ran through the streets trying to find safety. Ethan Cole, a young human soldier, was one of the last men left in the city. He was tired, hungry, and covered in dust and blood. But he kept moving because he still had a job to do. Ethan's unit had been ordered to clear a path for the last group of civilians. Most of his friends were gone. He felt alone in the dark city, but he knew he could not stop. He checked every street and every broken building. Sometimes he found people and sent them to the safe zone. Sometimes he found only silence and bodies dotted. It was late at night when he heard a soft sound. He turned and saw a small figure hiding behind a broken wall. He pointed his flashlight and saw big blue eyes staring at him. It was not a human child. It was an alien girl, no older than 10. She was shaking and holding her knees close to her chest. Her silver hair was full of dust. Her skin glowed faintly under the flashlight. Ethan lowered his gun and stepped closer. The girl did not run. She just watched him with wide eyes. He spoke softly to her, telling her it was okay, but she did not answer. She did not speak his language. He could see she was hurt. Her leg was bleeding, and she had no shoes. Ethan knew he had to move fast. The city was not safe. He slowly reached out his hand. An alien girl looked at it, and then at him. After a moment, she took his hand. Her small fingers were cold. Ethan lifted her up and felt how light she was. He could feel her tiny heartbeat through his armor. He carried her through the empty streets. Every step was dangerous. He could hear gunfire in the distance. He could feel the ground shake from bombs. He kept his eyes open for enemies and traps. The girl hid her face in his neck. He felt her small hands clutch his jacket. He whispered to her that it would be okay, though he was not sure if it was true. Ethan found a safe path through an alley. He could see the rescue ship far away. It was waiting in a small park where the last survivors were gathering. He moved faster, trying not to wake the sleeping enemy drones. He ducked behind walls and jumped over rubble. The girl did not make a sound. She was so quiet that Ethan almost forgot she was there. But every time he looked down, he saw her blue eyes watching him. When they were close to the park, Ethan saw a problem. A Zorak patrol was blocking the street. He hid behind a burned car and thought fast. He knew he could not fight with the girl. In his arms, he needed to get past them. He looked around and saw an old sewer hatch. He remembered his map. The tunnel could lead him under the street to the other side. He carefully set the girl down and opened the hatch. The smell was terrible, but there was no other way. He picked her up again and climbed down into the dark tunnel. The water was cold and reached his knees. The girl shivered in his arms. Ethan moved quickly through the tunnel, hoping the patrol did not hear them. He could see light ahead. The exit was near. He climbed out of the sewer and found himself behind the enemy line. The park was close now. He ran across the open field. He could see other people waving him over. He felt bullets hit the dirt near his feet. Someone was shooting. He did not stop. He ran as fast as he could, holding the girl tight. He could feel her small heartbeat. He told her to hold on just a little longer. When he reached the rescue ship, other soldiers pulled him and the girl inside. The ship lifted off the ground. Ethan sat down on the metal floor, still holding the girl. She looked at him with tired eyes. For a moment, the world was quiet. The girl touched his cheek with her small hand. Ethan felt something warm in his chest. He did not know her name. She did not know his words. But they understood each other. As the ship flew away from the burning city, Ethan closed his eyes. He felt the weight of the war lift from his shoulders for just a second. He promised himself that he would protect the alien girl until she was safe. He did not know what would happen next. But for that moment, all that mattered was that they were both alive. Ethan Cole sat in his small garage behind his house, wiping grease from his hands. He looked at the old truck he was fixing. It was an old habit now, working with engines and metal instead of guns and armor. His life felt quiet here, sometimes too quiet. He could hear the hum of the night outside, bugs, the wind in the trees, and the distant sound of cars on the highway. It was peaceful, but sometimes peace felt heavy. He closed the hood of the truck and looked at his hands. They were rough and scarred, reminders of the years he spent in places far from this little town. People here knew him as the quiet man who could fix anything. They did not know what he had done or what he had seen. He liked it that way. He liked that no one asked him about the war dot inside the house. The small kitchen light glowed warm. Ethan walked in and grabbed a cold drink from the fridge. The old floor creaked under his boots. He sat at the table and let his mind drift. He thought about the past more than he wanted to admit. Memories would come when he was not busy. They would sneak in like ghosts. Sometimes he saw fire and heard explosions. Sometimes he saw faces he could not forget. And sometimes he saw her. The alien girl with blue eyes. Her name was Lyra. He remembered her small hands gripping his arm as he carried her through a city falling apart. He could almost feel her tiny weight against his chest. He had looked down at her dirty face and told her it would be all right, though he did not know. If that was true, he had promised to get her to safety. Somehow he had done it. He had saved her and sent her back to her people. Then she was gone. He never saw her again. After the war, the world changed. Humans and aliens signed new peace deals. The news showed bright pictures of human leaders shaking hands with alien rulers. People clapped and talked about the future. But for men like Ethan, there was no place in that bright future. No one needed soldiers anymore. So he came here, to this small town where no one asked questions. Ethan leaned back in his chair. The cold drink sat untouched on the table. He closed his eyes and tried to push the memory away. But Lyra's eyes stayed with him. He wondered what happened to her. Was she alive? Did she ever think about the human soldier who saved her? He would never know. The sound of a car passing on the road pulled him back. He looked at the clock on the wall. It was late. He got up and turned off the kitchen light. He moved through the small living room and down the short hall to his bedroom. He sat on the edge of the bed and pulled off his boots. The bed creaked when he lay back. The ceiling above him was cracked and yellowed. He stared at it until his eyes grew heavy. He drifted off, but did not find peace in sleep. In his dreams, he was back in the ruined city. Flames danced in broken windows. Gunfire rattled somewhere far away. He felt the weight in his arms again. He looked down and saw Lyra, small and afraid, her blue eyes wide and wet with tears. She whispered something he could not hear. He held her tighter and ran through the rubble. The dream always ended the same way. He turned back and saw the city burning behind him. When he woke, the sun was peeking through the old blinds. Ethan sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. He felt tired, though. He had slept for hours. He got up, made coffee, and sat by the window. He watched birds pick at the grass. His yard was big, but wild. He never cared to keep it neat. A broken fence leaned to one side near the woods that marked the edge of his land. Beyond the trees was nothing but empty fields and more trees for miles. He drank his coffee and told himself to forget, but part of him did not want to forget. Maybe because that one moment was the only thing he did that felt right. Saving her had made him feel like a good man, just once. He wished he could know if she was safe, if she was happy, if she even remembered him. His day moved on like all the others. He went to the garage, fixed another truck, took a walk through town to buy food. People nodded to him, and he nodded back. They did not know who he was or what he had done. They called him Ethan the mechanic, not Ethan the soldier. When he came home that night, the sun was already gone. He set his bag on the table, kicked off his boots, and turned on the small lamp in the living room. The woods behind the house were dark now. He liked to sit near the window and listen to the quiet outside. It helped him forget the noise in his head. Tonight, though, something felt off. A sound came from the woods, a soft hum that did not belong. He stood up and moved closer to the window. The trees were dark shapes against the night sky. Then he saw it, a soft light deeper in the trees. It was not a fire or a flashlight. It was different, a glow that seemed to float. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He grabbed the old rifle he kept by the door. He slipped on his boots and stepped outside into the cool night. The grass was wet under his feet as he moved slowly toward the trees. The humming sound grew clearer, like a quiet engine, or maybe something else. He crouched near the broken fence and peered through the branches. What he saw made him freeze. There, half hidden by the trees, was a small ship. It was silver and smooth, with strange markings that glowed faint blue in the dark. He knew that design. He had seen ships like that during the war. His heart beat faster. Memories crashed into him all at once. He thought he had left all this behind. The ship's ramp lowered with a soft hiss. Ethan raised the rifle, but did not aim yet. A figure stepped down the ramp. The soft blue light washed over her face. His breath caught in his throat. It was her. Older now, taller, but it was her. Lyra, the same. Ethan lowered the rifle all the way and let it hang by his side. He looked at Lyra, trying to understand if she was real or just another ghost from his past. She stood at the bottom of the ramp, her blue eyes fixed on him. Her silver hair was longer now, braided neatly down her back. She wore clothes that looked light but strong, made from a soft material that shimmered in the dim light of the ship. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Ethan felt like he should say something, but no. Words came. The last time he saw her, she was a child, scared and hiding behind his arm. Now she was a woman, but her eyes were the same. Lyra took a step closer. The soft hum of the ship filled the silence between them. "Ethan," she said. Her voice was quiet, but clear. She spoke his name like she had practiced it many times. He was surprised that she could speak his language now. Her voice pulled him out of the past and into this strange moment. "Lyra," he said back. The name felt heavy on his tone. It did not feel real. "What are you doing here?" His voice cracked a little. He had spent years asking that question in his head, but never out loud. Lyra looked at the ground, then back at him. "I came to find you," she said. "I need your help." Ethan laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "My help?" He looked down at his dirty boots and the old rifle. "I fix trucks now. I don't save people anymore." Lyra stepped closer. She was near enough that he could see the small scar on her cheek, a thin white line he had never noticed before. "You saved me," she said. "You did not have to, but you did. Now I need you again." Ethan looked past her at the ship. He could feel the night pressing in around them. "Why me?" he asked. "Your people have armies, ships, leaders. Why come to me?" Lyra's eyes softened. "Because I trust you," she said. "And because I know you will listen." She held out her hand like she had done years ago when she was small and hurt. Ethan looked at her hand, then at her face. He did not take her hand yet. "Come inside," she said. I will explain. Ethan followed her up the ramp into the ship. The inside was small but bright. Soft blue lights glowed along the walls. The air smelled clean and warm. There were seats and small panels that showed symbols. He could not read. She pointed to a seat, and he sat down slowly, still holding his rifle across his knees. Lyra sat across from him. She looked at him for a long moment, maybe trying to see if he was the same man who once carried her through fire and smoke. "My people are in danger," she said. "There is a mining colony on our new world. Human mercenaries found it. They want the minerals under our land. They came with weapons. They said they would trade. But then they took what they wanted and hurt anyone who said no." Ethan listened. He could see her hands shaking a little. She was trying to stay calm. "Your leaders?" he asked. "Can't they stop them?" "They tried," Lyra said. "But the mercenaries are fast. They have better weapons than we do. They hide their ships in human space. Your leaders say they cannot help. They say it is not their fight." Ethan sighed. "Sounds like them," he said. He looked at her. "So you came here. You came to me. What do you think I can do?" Lyra leaned forward. "You know how they fight," she said. "You know their ways. You know how to stop them. My people trust me, but they do not know how to fight like humans do. You do." Ethan felt old anger rising in his chest. He had left all this behind. He had promised himself never to pick up a gun again for someone else's war. But Lyra was not just someone else. She was the only good thing he remembered from those dark days. She was the promise he kept. "How many?" Ethan asked. "How many mercenaries? How many people on your colony?" Lyra looked him in the eye. "Maybe 50 mercenaries. But they have strong weapons. Our colony is small. We have 200 families. They are scared. They have nowhere to run." Ethan looked down at his hands. They were rough and scarred. The hands of a man who fixed trucks and patched roofs, not a man who led people into fights. But deep down he knew that part of him was still there. The part that carried her through a burning city. The part that would stand between danger and someone who could not fight back. "Why me?" he asked again. Softer this time, Lyra reached across the small table and placed her hand over his. Her skin was warm. "Because you are still the man who saved me," she said. "I need that man again." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. He saw fire, smoke, and her small face pressed against his chest. He opened his eyes and saw her grown face looking back at him with hope and fear mixed together. "All right," Ethan said. "I'll help you, but you need to tell me everything. Where we are going, what we have, what we need." Lyra nodded. "I will," she said. "Thank you, Ethan." He pulled his hand back and rested it on his rifle. "Don't thank me yet," he said. "This won't be easy." Lyra gave him a small smile. A smile that looked like the one he remembered from years ago when he promised to keep her safe. "I know," she said. "But you came when I needed you then. You are here now. That is enough." Ethan leaned back in the seat and looked around the ship. He could feel his old life waking up inside him, piece by piece. The soldier he buried deep was standing up again, ready to do what he knew how to do. Outside the ship, the night was dark and quiet, but inside, the hum of the engines told him this was just the start. He looked at Lyra and nodded once. "When do we leave?" "Now," she said. "If you are ready." Ethan gave a tired smile. "I'm never ready," he said. "But let's go anyway." Ethan sat in the small ship as it lifted off the ground. He looked out the small window and saw his old house grow smaller and smaller until it disappeared under the dark trees. He felt like he was leaving his old life behind, and maybe he was. He did not feel sad about it. He felt like he was waking up from a long sleep. Lyra sat in the seat next to him. She checked the screens in front of her. Blue symbols moved across the glass. Her fingers moved quickly over small buttons. The hum of the ship grew louder as they broke through the clouds. Ethan watched her work. She looked calm, but he could see her shoulders were tense. She was worried, but trying to hide it. "How long until we get there?" Ethan asked. 2 days, Lyra said without looking at him. "We will jump through 3 gates. The last jump will take us near the colony." Ethan nodded. "Do they know we are coming?" Lyra looked at him then. "Some do. I told my brother I would bring help." "But not who? Your brother?" Ethan asked. Lyra gave a small smile. "Yes, his name is Sheen. He is in charge now. He was only a boy when you saved me. Now he leads the colony with my mother gone." Ethan felt old memories stir. He remembered a small boy with big eyes holding his sister's hand. He wondered if Sheen remembered him too. The ship moved smooth and fast through space. Ethan sat back and tried to rest, but sleep did not come. Instead, he watched the stars outside the window. He thought about the mercenaries. Men like that did not care who they hurt. They only cared about what they could take. He knew how they thought. He knew what they would do if no one stopped them. He felt Lyra watching him. When he turned, she looked away quickly. "You should rest," she said. "The trip is long." "You should rest too," Ethan said. Lyra nodded, but did not move from her seat. "I will soon," she said. "Do you still have dreams?" She asked after a quiet moment. Ethan looked at her. "Dreams?" "About the war," Lyra said softly. Ethan looked down at his hands. "Yes," he said. "Sometimes I see the fire. Sometimes I see the faces. Sometimes I see you." Lyra's eyes softened. "I see you too," she said, "in my dreams. You carry me through the burning city. I hold your jacket. I feel safe. I always feel safe." Ethan did not know what to say. He only nodded and looked back at the stars. Hours passed. Lyra fell asleep in her seat at last. Her head rested on her arms. Ethan stood and moved quietly to a small storage room in the back of the ship. He found supplies there: weapons, food, packs, small tools. He opened a case and saw an old rifle, lighter and smaller than the one he left behind. He checked its parts, his hands moving on their own. The smell of oil and metal made old memories feel close. He found a bag and packed what he thought they would need: maps, extra power cells, small grenades. He moved like he used to when he was young. It felt wrong and right at the same time. When he returned to the front, Lyra was awake again. She watched him put the bag under his seat. "You look like a soldier." "Again," she said. "I don't know if that's good or bad," Ethan said. "Good," Lyra said, "for now." They shared a small meal from metal packs. The food tasted like nothing, but it filled the emptiness in their stomachs. They did not talk much. Words felt too small for the things they both felt. Sometimes Lyra asked him about Earth. He told her about his house, the garage, the old truck that would never run right. She listened with soft eyes, like every small detail meant something. When they finished eating, Lyra showed Ethan the maps of her colony. They sat close, looking at the screen between them. She pointed to small buildings, farms, and the big open pit where the mercenaries were digging. "They have guards here and here," she said, pointing with her finger. "They bring big ships every week. They load the minerals and take them away." "Any weak spots?" Ethan asked. "The main power line runs through this hill," Lyra said. "If we break it, their lights and guns will go dark for some time." "Good," Ethan said. "We'll hit it first. Confusion will help us." Lyra looked at him. "You say we. You mean you and me?" Unless you have an army hidden somewhere, Ethan said. Lyra gave a small laugh. It was a sound that made something warm. The ship dropped out of the last gate with a soft jolt. Ethan opened his eyes and sat up straight. Outside the small window, he saw a wide planet below them. Half of it was covered in white clouds and silver-blue oceans. Closer to the equator, dry red land spread out like an open wound. Lyra leaned forward in her seat, checking the screens in front of her. Her face looked calm, but her hands moved fast over the controls. "This is it," she said. "Home." Ethan nodded and looked at the red. "Ground. Where do we land?" "A small clearing near the south ridge," Lyra said. "It is hidden by the hills. My brother will meet us there." The ship turned slowly and started to drop into the thin clouds. Ethan could see dark shapes on the ground farms, small roads, and a few metal buildings that looked tiny from so high above. When they got closer, he saw the signs of the mercenaries too. Big machines cut lines into the land. Smoke rose from digging sites. Metal towers stood like sharp teeth around the pit. Ships shivered as they went through the last layer of cloud. Then the ground came up fast. Lyra guided the small craft toward a flat patch between two rocky hills. The ship's feet touched the dirt with a soft hiss. The engines powered down. For a moment, the world was quiet except for the wind outside. "Ready?" Lyra asked. Ethan picked up the bag he packed. "Not really," he said, "but let's do it anyway." Lyra gave a quick smile and opened the hatch. Warm, dry air filled the cabin. Ethan stepped outside first. The wind smelled like iron and dust. He scanned the empty hills. Nothing moved but dry grass bending in the breeze. Not a figure came around the side of a large boulder. He was tall and slim, with short dark hair and a long coat made of simple cloth. He carried no gun, but his eyes were sharp and watched every shadow. When he saw Lyra, he broke into a small smile. Lyra ran to him and hugged him tight. Ethan stood back and watched. "Sheen," Lyra said, "I brought help." Sheen looked at Ethan with careful eyes. "This is him? The human soldier?" "Ethan Cole," Ethan said, stepping forward. "I was a soldier. Now I'm just here to help." Sheen studied him for a second, then nodded. "Then you are welcome. Come, it's not safe to stand here." They moved fast over the rough ground. Sheen led them through a narrow path between rocks. After a few minutes, they reached a small camp hidden in a dry gully. A few tents and supply boxes sat under the rocks. People moved quietly, fixing tools, checking weapons that looked old and worn. They all stopped when they saw Ethan. Some looked curious, others afraid. "These are our watchers," Sheen said. "We listen, we watch the mercenaries, but we do not fight. Them, until now." "That's going to change," Ethan said. Sheen raised an eyebrow. "You think you can teach farmers to fight mercenaries?" "Not soldiers," Ethan said. "Fighters, there's a difference. Your people don't need to beat them in a fair fight. They just need to make the fight too hard to keep going." Sheen looked at Lyra, who nodded once. "He's right," she said. "Trust him like I trust him." Sheen's mouth tightened, but he said nothing more. He led them to a small tent near the rocks. Inside, maps and old paper notes were spread over a crate. Ethan set down his bag and leaned over the maps. Lyra stood next to him, pointing out roads and hidden paths. Sheen watched with arms crossed. "We have watchers here and here," Lyra said, tapping spots on the map. "They see where the mercenaries move every day. The big dig is here. The power line runs here. Ethan wants to hit it first." Sheen shook his head. "They guard that line day and night." "Good," Ethan said. "When they guard something heavy, it means it's important. If we break it, they lose power for the big machines, the lights, the gates. They will panic, and then? Sheen asked. Then you hit them again, Ethan said. Small hits. Fast. They chase shadows. They waste time fixing what you break. They can't dig if they are too busy guarding themselves. Lyra looked at Ethan. What do you need? People who know the land, Ethan said. People who can move at night. Old tools, old guns, anything that can help. Sheen nodded slowly. I will. Gather them. Ethan looked at the small camp. And I will train them. That night, under the pale light of a low moon, Ethan stood before 20 men and women. Some were young, barely old enough to hold a gun. Others were old farmers with sunburned faces and cracked hands. They watched him with wide eyes. Some looked hopeful. Some looked scared. I won't lie to you, Ethan said, his voice calm but clear. This will not be easy. You will not win every fight. You will get hurt. But if you stay smart and stay together, you can make these men wish they never came here. He showed them simple tricks. How to move without making noise. How to hide in plain sight. How to watch without being seen. He showed them how to break machines without being caught. How to set small traps that slowed big men down. Lyra watched him the whole time. Sometimes she stepped in to translate old words when he needed help. She moved through the circle, touching shoulders, giving quiet words of comfort. After hours of training, the people broke off into small groups. They practiced in the dark, learning how to move as one. Ethan stood with Lyra and Sheen near the map. They trust you, Lyra said. Not yet, Ethan said, but they will. Trust is earned when the first trap works, when the first machine breaks, when they see the mercenaries scared. Sheen looked at Ethan. And you? Why do you do this? Ethan looked at Lyra. Because once, someone small and scared trusted me to carry her through fire. Now she asks me to do it again. Sheen did not say anything. He looked at his sister and nodded once. The wind blew dust across the small camp. In the dark, the farmers moved like shadows, learning to become ghosts that would haunt the mercenaries in the days to come. Ethan felt the old part of himself come alive fully now. The soldier was back, not for a flag or a country, but for people who had no one else. When the training was done for the night, Lyra came to him and touched his arm. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet, Ethan said. Save it for when this place is free again. Lyra smiled softly in the dark. Then I will thank you forever. The night air was cold on Ethan's face as he moved through the dark hills. Behind him, 4 of the best watchers from the camp followed in silence. Their boots made soft sounds in the dirt. No one spoke. No one needed to. Ethan had told them everything before they left. The goal was simple. Cut the power line that fed the mercenaries. Big machines. They reached the top of a low ridge and lay flat on their stomachs. Below them, lights glowed around the tall metal poles and wires that carried power from a small station to the dig site. 2 men in dark armor walked back and forth near a small shed by the poles. They carried rifles and flashlights that cut through the night in thin beams. Ethan pulled out small binoculars and looked closer. 2 guards, he whispered. Same pattern, slow. We wait until they pass the shed, then move. The watchers nodded. They were young but brave. One was a girl named Mara. She had eyes like sharp glass and moved like a cat. She carried a coil of old wire and small metal cutters in her pack. When the guards turned their backs and walked behind the shed, Ethan raised his hand and moved low and fast down the hill. The others followed him step by step. They reached the shadow of the shed and pressed their bodies flat against the cold metal wall. Ethan held up 2 fingers and pointed to the left. Mara and another watcher slipped around the back of the shed, moving like shadows. Ethan and the other two stayed on the other side. He counted in his head. 1, 2, 3. Mara gave a soft bird call. Ethan stepped out and swung his arm around the first guard's neck before the man could turn. He pulled tight. The guard's feet kicked at the dirt, but made no sound. Mara did the same with the second guard, moving quick and sure. The guards dropped to the ground, out cold but alive. Good, Ethan whispered. Tie them up. Move fast. Mara and the others dragged the guards behind the shed and used old rope to bind their hands and feet. They worked fast but careful. Ethan moved to the power line pole. He touched the thick cable and felt the hum inside it. He looked at Mara and pointed at the cutters. This will slow them down? She asked. Long enough, Ethan said. Mara uncoiled the wire and slipped the cutters around. The thick cable. Sparks flew for a second, and the hum inside the cable died. The lights at the far end near the dig site flickered and then went dark. The night swallowed the metal towers, and the machines fell silent. Good work, Ethan said. Move out. They ran back into the hills before the mercenaries could come looking. They moved low through the dry grass, hearts pounding, breath hot in the cold air. When they reached the camp, they found Lyra waiting near the rocks. Her face was tense until she saw Ethan and Mara appear out of the dark. It worked? Lyra asked. It worked, Ethan said. Their lights are out. Their machines are off. They will be blind for a while. Mara stepped forward. They will guard it better next time, she said. That's the plan, Ethan said. We keep them busy. We break something else tomorrow. They can't guard everything at once. Lyra touched Ethan's arm. You did well. They did well, Ethan said, nodding to Mara and the others. The small fires burned low in the hidden camp. People whispered about the blackout. They knew something big had started tonight. Hope moved through the camp like warm wind. Ethan saw it in their eyes, in the way they stood a little straighter, but he knew it was just the start. The mercenaries would hit back harder next time. He sat with Lyra near the map inside the tent. Sheen stood across from them, arms crossed as usual. They will come.